Hello folks, we are here. It's Lowcountry Money Talk. Phil Bloyd is joining us with Revolutionary Financial Group, and we're going to do what it says. We're going to talk money.
Hey,
hi, how are you?
Great, glad to be here, Jessa.
Nice to see you.
Good to be here.
Okay, last show, what you did is you answered a lot of great questions for us. We still have more for you.
Okay.
And our folks who are in retirement, and especially those nearing retirement, it can be a scary time. Yeah. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to approach retirement, hopefully with some optimism. One of the things we all think about when we think about retirement is all of the things that we want to do. And of course, those things cost money.
Sure.
But we've got inflation, we've got market volatility, we've got a recession, a looming recession, and potentially even in one.
Yeah.
So how do we balance these things?
They may cost more money, and you won't get a flight because they'll cancel your flight on you.
So all these dreams, we've had, we're watching them slip away potentially. What do you think we should do about that?
Okay, so let's say that I'm pre-retirement. I'm looking to retire in the next year or two. And it's like, do I really want to retire? Yes. Do I want to travel? Yes. Do I want to give up my income from my job? Maybe not. So what if we could do maybe a little bit of both?
Okay.
So let's say that I'm close to retirement age. I've been working in a place for a long time. Probably have some seniority. Probably have a lot of vacation days saved up as well. So why couldn't I just do some of my traveling before I retire?
Sounds like an okay idea, right? Because we know we don't want to sell our assets when they're low. We don't want to sell our equities in the bargain basement
to go traveling.
To go to Europe.
Right.
So yeah, that's a really good point. Maybe we stick it out just a little bit longer and do some of those dreams.
Right. So let's take a look. Where are we going to get the money from?
Oh, well, I don't have that answer.
Well,
I was hoping
thought you were going to pay for it.
Wait a minute.
What the heck? Okay. So here's what we might do. We'll go old-fashioned on this, we'll say. We'll have our money saved up for our vacation, okay, instead of maybe putting it on a credit card or something.
Okay.
Unless we want the points and we have the money, we can pay it back.
I like that. I like that.
So let's say that we do something that's a little old-fashioned, and we'll say we do a little planning before.
Yeah. And that's something that, oftentimes we kind of feel like we have, but when you take a really good hard look, you might not really have a plan that suits this economy, this market, this level of cost and inflation.
So what people used to do, Jessa, in the old days, I can remember when I was a younger man, they would say, okay, we're going to go on a family vacation, or we're going to go here, we're going to go there. And they would sit down ahead of time and they would say, this is the money we're saving for vacation. And then they would save the money, they would make a plan, this is where we're going to go on our vacation, this is what we're going to do on our vacation. So let's go back in time just a bit. I'm pre-retiree. I think I may want to stick to my job a little bit, but I want to do some of my retirement traveling now. I've got a lot of vacation days saved up, so I don't want to lose, bail out on my income just now because of the recession and things looming. So I'm going to sit down, I'm going to take 6 months ahead of time, I'm going to plan out my vacation with my significant other, and we're going to make sure that we have the money set aside to take care of that.
Yeah.
And maybe we do that for a year or two, or maybe we take 2 vacations in that year, because I've been working there a long time. I have a lot of vacations saved up, but I'm just not comfortable giving my notice yet in this economy.
Yeah, just maybe stick it out a little bit. And you talk a lot about buckets, when we're talking about different things. Maybe we need to go ahead and add a bucket and have ourselves a trip bucket.
How about that?
I like that. I like it. Old is new again,
Old is new. I like it.
We got a lot more to talk about, maybe a little bit about planning, what that looks like, of course, your advice on that, and what we should be doing in this economy. So the good news. Welcome back to Lowcountry Money Talk. We have really already kicked it off with some heavy and good topics. Phil Bloyd, you are back.
Thank you.
Our viewers love hearing from you because you answer so many questions that we all have on our mind. We're really battling inflation and trying to figure out what to do about that. for our viewers who are in or nearing retirement, we're trying to make some pivots and figure out what kinds of things are good to do. Something I hadn't really thought about before today. You really utilize your Social Security benefits into an inflation-fighting asset. It's a mouthful, but also a great way to help out your retirement portfolio.
Well, Jessa, some people, you can take early Social Security. So, I'm not advising you to. That's something you need to talk to with your accountant or CPA or whatever in the Social Security office, but I'm just going to give you a few ideas you may consider. When you go in there, you can ask some questions.
Yes, that's
okay?
what we've got for you.
So let's take a look at that. So let's say, and I've seen this over the years, I've been doing this a while. So let's say, for instance, I have a person that needs additional income and they're no longer working at all, their spouse isn't working, and they're taking, I don't know, let's say $1,000 or $2,000 a month out of their IRA. Well, the first thing, let's say they're under 70 and they're not taking Social Security yet. And I'm like, okay, does it really make sense to take money out of an IRA, which is 100% taxable, when I'm not taking my Social Security first?
Right.
Which can be taxable, but the highest level of your Social Security that may be taxable at the current rate is 85%. Now, if I take $1 out in IRA, it's 100% taxable, a traditional IRA. If I take money from my Social Security, up to 85% of it may be taxable, but maybe none of it's taxable. It depends on my income. So these are questions I would take to my tax professional, and I'd say, hey, look, I'm taking $1,000, $1,500, whatever it is a month out of my IRA. If I stopped taking that money out of my IRA and just started early Social Security, would that save me money, one, in taxes? And here's the thing, here's another thing I found out on that, Jessa. If, let's say, me and my spouse both die, okay, how much of my Social Security does my heirs get? How much would they get? None. How much of my IRA would they get? Whatever's left.
Yeah, okay.
But if I'm depleting my IRA and I haven't started taking my Social Security yet, I could be leaving more money to compound growth, and so that IRA would continue to grow, especially in a depleted market. So we're in a depleted market now. If I could go in and switch over, let's say I'm 64 or 63 or whatever, and say, okay, I'm just gonna start my Social Security now. And then I don't wanna take any money out of my IRA because the Social Security will carry me through.
Right.
To me, that leaves my children in a better status, that leaves my IRA in a better status for me to use later, because I'm not taking it out in a depleted market, so it can accumulate back. So that's what I'm
smart. That is so smart. And obviously it's individual, it depends on a lot of factors.
Go check it out.
But yeah, a really good thing to look into. Okay, well, this is another one we've all got on our minds. We've got our retirement money. We've also got a recession. It looks very recession-y. Is that a word?
Feels it. Let me see. It's out there.
What do we do to protect the assets, to protect our retirement money right now?
Right. Okay. A lot of people were getting ready to retire. We talked about in previous shows, look, maybe I can work a little bit longer. Maybe I don't need to retire. There are several advantages to that. There are some disadvantages depending on your health and certain things. Usually as we get older, our health doesn't get better, so we could be cutting the time frame on our traveling in retirement, which is usually the first few years of retirement is better to travel than the other ones because, our health deteriorates naturally. And we spoke about that. Maybe we keep working, we take vacations instead of, and we consider that, hey, that's part of retirement. I'm just spending down some of my vacation instead of saving it later and get paid on it and all that stuff. So that's one thing. But getting back to the recession and the retirement, if we need funds, if we've got to pay bills, the funds have to come from somewhere.
Right.
So I think, again, it makes sense that we have assets where we can take withdrawals that aren't gonna, you can look at an asset as an EKG, which could be the volatility of the market today, or we can look at them at a stair step. A stair step means maybe we're going up slowly, but there's no downside to it.
Right.
So usually you may look to banks, you may look at government issues, you may look at insurance companies. Usually they're going to have something that would go along that staircase. So I would look, I would shop, I would look at interest rates and things of this nature and see what you could get involved in there for the safe side of things.
Right.
Because what we don't want to do in a rough economy or a downturn in the market is take money from the EKG side.
Aren't you glad you're watching this episode? This is just so great. You're pretty good at this.
Well, I've been around.
Got more questions for you and more answers after the break here on Lowcountry Money Talk. Stick around. Still more questions we have for Phil Bloyd here on Lowcountry Money Talk. Phil, of course, expert with Revolutionary Financial Group. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
He stayed. He's
I'm
still here.
Hey, it's raining outside. Nowhere to go.
We've got tough questions for you, and you stuck it out. Yeah. Here's the thing I want to spend some time talking about this segment is for our folks who are in or nearing retirement, lots of things to sort of be fearful of. Yeah. And I think maybe the number one thing that is on our minds, even if you're not in retirement, you're just thinking ahead to it, is how do I keep enough money to last me the rest of my life?
That's a big fear.
Yes.
So, one of the largest fears that seniors are going to have, retirees, soon to be retirees, do I have enough?
Yeah.
And with the cost of things these days, I mean, that's a legitimate question.
You may have thought you had enough. It all added up. It looked good until, boom, recessionary.
And what I tell many people is they're like, oh, I've retired at the wrong time, the market's down, and this. I said, no, not really, because, if we look at the market historical performance, you just came out of the largest bull run and you were working and contributing and your assets grew over that 12, 13 year period. So, I mean, maybe it's a good time to retire if you're already retired. If not, maybe you want to work a little bit longer. But, I mean, you had those 12, 13 years of really good growth. I'm hoping you took advantage of it. I'm hoping you saved a lot. But now, people are like, well, do I have enough to last? Mm-hmm. The one thing that we were told years ago, and I don't know if it's accurate, it was like, well, we'll contribute to all these deferred plans like IRAs, 401ks, and whatever, and when we retire, we'll be in a lower tax bracket. Well, the problem I think we have with that is I find that most retirees are spending as much or more now in retirement than when they were working.
Yeah.
Because their lifestyle. Right. You get used to spending, so whatever that number may be, and rates of taxes may go up, inflation is taking 8.5%. So I think when we retire, we need to plan on, hey, I'm probably going to spend about what I was spending when I was working, just to be safe.
Right.
So then we need to take a look at the income. This is how much we need a month, okay? This is, Finance 101. Let's look at the check register, okay? So this is how much I'm spending a month. This is how much I've got coming in a month. Oops, I have a deficit, or hey, I have a surplus, or hey, I have way too much.
Hey.
Then that's a problem too, because maybe we're not getting return on those funds.
Right.
But unlike, the U.S. government, we can't spend more than what we make, because then it goes on the credit card, and the interest rates on the credit card are going up.
Astronomical.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I did see a statistic that said credit card usage and debt has gone up at the fastest rate ever. So some people, Jessa, are putting their inflation on the credit card.
So you're putting your 8.5 inflation on a credit card that charges who knows
20,
what.
15, 18, whatever.
So normally, Phil, I ask you the questions. This time I have a question for our viewers, and it's one you want to, consider, is do you have a written retirement income plan? Because that is just so important with what we're talking about today, and how, really taking a look at your portfolio. If you don't, or if you think you might need someone to take a look at it, Rachel at the office will help you with that. Do a risk assessment, do a portfolio analysis, and answer for that fear you might be having about if it's going to last. Right?
Yeah, I think we'll talk about that more next segment too.
Okay, let's do that. Yeah, what that looks like, what that entails. Okay, we got one more for you. Don't worry. We'll be back after the break here on Lowcountry Money Talk. Stick with us. Welcome back into Lowcountry Money Talk. If you're just tuning in, we have, well, you've missed a lot for one, but it's okay. We've got a treat for you. This is the grand finale, really, of the show.
Yeah. The fireworks.
That's right.
Yeah.
So Phil Bloyd has been really just invaluable in terms of how much you have helped us just kind of walk through some of the fears retirees may have.
Yeah.
And really, number one being, do I have enough money to
that's
live,
number one.
to maintain my lifestyle?
Sure.
Etc. with what's going on. Before we headed to break, I asked the viewers a question, a little flip of the switch for you, whether or not you have a written retirement income plan and is it working for you? So let's talk a little bit more about that, an income plan, what that looks like, what factors are in there?
Sure. Okay, so first of all, on an income plan, we want to look at how much you need to withdraw. We want to add in cost of living, we want to add in inflation, okay? Then we want the inputs. What type of income do we have coming in? Do we have a defined benefit pension, like the old dinosaur pension I talk about? Do we have Social Security? The income plan will also take a look at Social Security adjustments over time, so it'll add that into it. Then we want to take a look at your equities and what the return on your equity side of the portfolio is. We want to look at historical averages, and then we want to look at the income side of your portfolio, and then how much we have coming in from that. We want to adjust the percentage in the equities and the income based upon your age a bit, because you know the worst thing you would want, Jessa, for me to come in and say, wow, you look great for a 25-year-old. Now, you might like that.
Yeah, that sounds good.
But when you're 75,
right.
and I come in and I'm gonna say, hey, I just looked over your statements, and you look great for a 25-year-old. Or you look a little elderly, actually, for a 25.
Yeah.
But because, you know, you don't want to be in the most aggressive equities when you're 80 or 70.
Is your portfolio looking your age? And
yeah, we talked about that.
That's important. Yeah, because it's a vast difference from when you're 25 to when you're 75.
Sure.
And making those adjustments along the way. Okay.
So we adjust that in the plan, we go along, everything's calculated, and then we take a look at it. And then I'm like, well, how long do people in your family typically live? People always guess high on that number. Optimistic, I guess. You know, the average age, I think, is coming down. So I think for a male, it's 79.
Really?
But when you're 79, then it may be 83, because it pushes up a bit.
Yeah.
But I would think for a male, probably 79, for female, a little over 80. So if we look at the numbers and we're green all the way through 95, let's say, that means, hey, you know, we're probably in pretty good shape here as far as the income goes. If we hit red before we're dead, we got problems.
We have a big problem.
So then we have to make some adjustments, you know. Spend less, save more, I don't know, but we have to make some changes on the input. Thankfully, I don't see a whole lot of reds, but I do see some reds. And, you know, these days, most people don't have that defined pension. So they're really dependent on how their investments carry them through. And that's a little scary, because when you're working and you're doing your job and you're great at your job and all these things, the last thing you want to do is retire and be a portfolio manager or an investment advisor. Because you want to go do the fun things, right?
Exactly.
So now you have all of this money you have to manage, and you don't have a defined pension coming in. You have to provide your own pension. that's scary.
Yes, it is.
Especially in these markets.
Right.
So
yeah.
we
And
need
even
to be
if
careful.
it doesn't look like you're going to be in the red, you want to make sure it's working
Right.
to the best advantage. And you're not spending too much
Right.
on taxes, etc. You want it to be in the best shape it can be in.
Well, some people say I want my last check to bounce. But I'm like, I've never seen that happen. But
That's
in
good.
other words, I spend my last dollar the day I die.
That's it. That's a good one. I'm going to take that with me today. That's my closing thought. I like it. I like it a lot. Well, the good news is you can do something about it. You can call the office. Rachel will take good care of you. Get a risk assessment, get a portfolio analysis, take a deep dive into some of these things, make sure it's going to last.
Yeah.
And at least till that last check bounces on your final day.
Right.
I like it. This is Lowcountry Money Talk. We'll see you next time.